business leaders face uncertainty and volatility. Non-humans are entering the workplace. Memes control the stock market. And geopolitics is a business concern. Disruption isn't a future concept. It's here. I am Justin Brady, and using 7,000 predictions and 12 major workplace trends from SHRM, you and I will sit down with psychologists, CEOs, scientists, entrepreneurs, and analysts to make sense of it all. This show isn't about the future. It's about actions to take tomorrow. This is Tomorrowist. I'm Justin Brady. On this special episode of Tomorrowist, SHRM sent me and a camera crew to Chicago to catch up with Professor Luigi Zingales. He's the professor of entrepreneurship at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. We wanted to know, what's this new capitalism versus socialism thing we're seeing in the workplace? Why should leaders care about it? And is it hurting merit in the workplace? Here's that interview. If there's ever a topic I didn't think I'd be discussing, like the importance of, it's probably capitalism. So let's discuss capitalism with Professor Luigi Zingales, professor of entrepreneurship and finance at University of Chicago Booth School of Business, and of course, the host of the Capital Isn't podcast. I'm assuming that's Apple, Spotify, all the rest. And of course, you're an author as well. I loved the book. Like I told you earlier, I've got almost all the way through it. Great read. But thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I want to start this with a quote from you, from that book. It's a great quote, and I think it's very, very important, especially for students today, but also younger workers coming into the workforce. Living in a corrupt system, I could always blame the system for my own failures, even the ones that were my responsibility. Now, lacking any scapegoat, I could only blame myself, like an acrobat working without a safety net. This is when you came from Italy, and you came to the United States, and you had that realization that with a lot of freedom also came a lot of responsibility. Is that fear, I know we're starting out really heavy here, but is that fear the reason we see talks of socialism in the USA? Obviously, it's deeper than that, but is that one of the reasons, that fear?
I don't think so. I think that people, especially when they're young, they love that fear because that fear is also thrilling. In a sense, there is an element of fear, but there is an element of thrill, like exactly when you're an acrobat. Not that I am one, but in the air.
We'll test that later.
Yes. I think that what I started to describe in that book, but I think has become worse over the years, the book is 12 years old, is that the system in the United States resembles more and more like the system in my native Italy, with the worst things that you don't have the good food and the good wine that you have in Italy. So it's only the negative without the positive.
We're working on it.
You're working on it, yeah.
It'll take us another 50 years, but we're working on it. I'm glad you said the book was written in 2012, right? I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Because I was reading it, I'll be honest, I was reading it and didn't even realize that until I was like halfway through. Do you find that most of the anger directed at capitalism, because I hear people saying capitalism's broken, it doesn't work, it's capitalism's bad, but when I dig in deeper into the issue, it doesn't seem like they're mad at capitalism. It seems like they're mad at maybe very small versions of socialism that, like you said, are kind of bubbling their way into the United States. Was that a fair assessment?
I would say that they're mad at the fact that the system is not what is promised to be. So a true capitalist system is promised to be more meritocratic with a more equality of opportunities and more sort of a correlation between the effort you put in and the outcome you get. And I think that that's not what we observe in the United States today. And that's what makes a lot of the young people really mad. I think that that's what creates that resentment, in my view.
We don't believe in merit anymore, or is this just in select industries?
I think that more and more sort of rules tend to be shaped by who is the incumbent in the industry. So to the advantage of who is the incumbent, and the incumbent can be a firm, or the incumbent can be also a group or a class, and so the system is not really kind of equal. So take, for example, to try to not criticize only the others, but criticize also my own industry. Take university, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a disproportionate amount of admission based on legacy.
Mm-hmm.
When I visited Harvard a few years back, they told me that the rule of thumb was a third, a third, a third. A third legacy, a third affirmative action and athletes,
Mm-hmm.
and a third on merit. So the one who enter out of merit is a minority. I think that that's what you feel the system is rigged. And then if you go to Harvard, you're much more likely to have a number of advantages that you don't have if you go to Ohio State, even if your quality in terms of education sometimes is better at Ohio State than Harvard.
Yeah, and you mentioned that like things suffer, merit decreases when regulation kind of increases and when industries are able to capture more of an industry by force. Is do we and now we see kind of the results of what you were writing back in that book. Educational institutions were very much captured. And now we see a bailout that is happening in the student loan area. I don't know if that's the version you predicted, but we do see a type of bailout that is happening in education. I would guess you don't think this is going to solve much of anything.
Oh, absolutely not. In fact, I do predict the bailout. I wrote that book shortly after the great financial crisis,
Right.
and I made a very explicit comparison between student loans and home mortgages. And they both start with a good intention to give a house to every American or to give everybody the opportunity to get an education. Both are great ideas. But then when you look at the details, the way the system was kind of administered was flawed. And in the case of student loans, what is really flawed is the fact that we don't make the loan giver any accountable in any way accountable for the outcome of the result. So if I know that you're not made to go to that particular university and you don't make any money to go to that particular university, as a loan provider, I don't have any incentive not to give you the loan. And as a university, I don't have any incentive not to take your money. But what I'm doing, I'm really taking advantage of you as a student, because I, as a loan provider, or I, as university, I know much better than you do whether you have a chance to make money out of the education or not. And if I don't see that opportunity, taking your money is really taking advantage of you, a little bit like the predatory lending that we saw in the mortgage, in the subprime mortgage area before the financial crisis. And as a result, then what we have is that because there was some predatory lending, then this is the excuse to bail out everybody with, of course, consequences in the entire system, and also an enormous amount of resentment. Because if I work a double shift to pay my college and you took a loan,
yes,
you get bailed out and I don't. And
yes.
and of course, I get mad at this situation, and rightly so.
Yeah. I mean, we even see my wife was a teacher. And I even saw she was at a 97% poverty rate school. And I saw a lot of students saying, I can't go to college. I'll never be able to pay that back. And so they skipped college. And sometimes I wonder, are they looking at this news? Obviously, no fault to a student who just got their loan paid off. What are they going to do? They're not going to refuse it, right? But are these students who decline to go to school looking at this and thinking, I am the sucker, right?
Yeah.
I'm the sucker. And what I think that, again, you point this out in the book, but the real winners here, sure, it's a win that the student got their loan paid off. But the real winners, aren't they the banks and the academic institutions?
I think the real big winner are the academic institutions, particularly the ones who don't provide any value, who basically got their product subsidized, and they're not held accountable in any possible form or shape. I think that the very minimum, if you are going that direction, now we know that at the minimum, I will have a tax on the institutions that provided a lot of loans that are not paid off, because those are the institutions, including a lot of private institutions, that don't add any value.
Now, you talk about this idea of a meritocracy
Mhm.
always being in tension with democracy.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. Until I was reading that book, I kind of thought they were complementary ideas and they were always harmonious and always, if we could see a manifestation of them, they would be walking through a field holding hands, but that is definitely not the case. Can you explain that? Because I think that explains a lot of the bailout issues we're having and why some people seem to be on the side of the bailout and some people aren't. And these ideas are in tension all the time. It's a great explanation.
So I think that democracy naturally tend to redistribute income and tend to a more equality of outcome. While the meritocracy to work, you do need an equal outcome. You do need to reward people to elicit higher effort and higher uh, maybe investment in human capital and so on and so forth. And so there is, of course, a tension between the two. But I think that keeping them in balance, keeping one to check the other, is a bit like the yin and the yang. Is a kind of the perfect Goldilocks. Unfortunately, way too often we go in one direction, one excess or the other, and then we have kind of the populist redistribution, or we have like a plutocracy. And I think that now we're more in the direction of plutocracy. And in the Italy I grew up in the 70s, we're more the direction of a populist redistribution of.
So we need to keep them in tension in order for the American capitalism system to work, correct? They need to, this is a dilemma of capitalism, is that they need to stay in tension.
Absolutely.
So I want to move to you mentioned all the systems kind of rigged against students. They kind of know it. There's that tension. They don't really understand it. And I think in the book you talk about monopoly. When someone really doesn't understand the rules. I think is this right? Is this the right?
It is right now.
Yeah,
the reason why I laugh is because to this day, my son is a bit mad of that example. But
he is?
Yes. He is.
Oh, that's great.
So let me tell you the example, because I think it's interesting, is that, I have two kids, and my son is a couple of years older than my daughter. And I remember as a little kid, they were playing Monopoly at the time where my son knew how to read and my daughter not yet. So they would play Monopoly for a while, and then after a certain time, my daughter would start crying. So I would have to intervene and try to figure out what was happening.
Yeah.
And so according to my daughter, my son was cheating. According to my son, he was following the rules. My interpretation, and there is a dispute whether this is true or not, so I have to give him the credit.
Of course there is.
But is that he was selectively enforcing the rules. So knowing how to read the rules, he was not cheating in the sense of making up rules, but he was selectively enforcing the rules. And I like this example for two reasons. Number one is because I equate the screams of my daughter to actually the popular revolt against the system.
Yes.
And where people who are not that sophisticated might not understand what is rigged. They do understand the system is rigged.
Right.
And my daughter, she didn't even know how to read, but she's smart. She had a sense that something was rigged. And she did the only thing that a 5-year-old could do, which is to scream.
Yeah.
Right. And the other is my son, at least in my interpretation, is my son does what let's call it broadly the elite tends to do today, which is to be very selective in the enforcement of the rule.
What I appreciate, though, about the book is every time I think I have like your politics pegged, I prove myself wrong. Like you do a really good job of skewering and showing quite clearly how there is no innocent political party in the system. They're both kind of in on the take. And they're both in some ways against the very people they're supposed to serve. But this is what's interesting is the system. A lot of the people understand that the larger entities, this is kind of what you write in the book, the larger entities that have the political elite friends, in some ways we're kind of almost royalty here. Those people have the advantage and the others do not, right? And so like you said, people kind of pick up on this. And so that's there. That idea is there whether we like it or not. It's there. Leaders are struggling with that idea. And so do business leaders correct this by demonstrating, at least within their microcosm, at least within their walls, I know the world's crazy. I know there are things that don't feel right to you. I know that we can't debate it and point blame at any one particular person. It's a complex issue. But within these walls, on my team, we will make things fair. Is that what we need to do, or to make sure our employees are focused on productivity, or is there more we can do?
I think it's a little bit more complex because honestly, most entrepreneurs are not angels and they do what they're incentivized to do. So, in a system where you get to make money by innovating and servicing the customer better, um, you're going to see people do that. But in a system where you make more money by changing the rules to your advantage, I think that you're going to see a lot of people playing that game. And this is what I saw happening in my native Italy. What brought, in my view, a demise of Italy. In a sense, people don't fully appreciate, but Italy has not seen any increase in per capita income in the last 25 years.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So I think it's very rare to see developed countries stagnating at that level. And I think that part of it is that the system was not rewarding people to innovate and improve, but to do what is called in jargon rent seek, so to capture a larger fraction of the existing rents without adding any value. And so I think that the system in America is becoming more and more that way. And the problem is very difficult for a single entrepreneur to say, I'm going to play the game correctly, because you see everybody cutting corners here and there, and then you are forced to do the same. Is a bit like, I always make this example, in Italy, if you start to go on a line, on a queue, and you play by the rule and you wait, you see everybody cutting the line. You don't go ahead, you go behind. At some point, you say, enough is enough. You start to cut the line yourself because you cannot do otherwise. That's what is called in equilibrium in game theory. But that's exactly what happens in countries like Italy and, unfortunately, now in the United States, is that if you are an honest entrepreneur, you get screwed. And so you slowly but surely learn how to play the game in a different way.
One of the unfairnesses you discuss is the increase in executive compensation. And this is one of the things that also frustrates younger workers, or workers in general. They think they're putting in the work and they're not moving up the ranks. I kind of have the view, in a pure free market, pure capitalist society, go ahead, pay your executives whatever the heck you want, because that'll just rob your entire organization of compensation and people will leave, right? So is ballooning executive compensation that's out of control always connected to tightly regulated companies who've captured the market?
So your vision that if you don't like, you change, is a vision of perfect competition that we rarely have in the real world, okay? So unfortunately, there are two frictions that make a difference. One is that it's not that easy to find a substitute. So if you want to change your cable company, good luck, for example. But so that's one issue. The second is that I like to say that the way corporate executives are appointed, the way the directors are elected, is the closest thing to a Soviet election in the Western world.
Wow.
Because, in the Soviet Union, you had the incumbents make a list of people. You had as many candidates as seats, and you can vote yes or abstain. And if you abstain, you get retaliated, or you get problems. So everybody vote yes, okay? That's exactly what happens in corporation. You are the directors, you have as many candidates as places. Those guys have been chosen by the incumbents. And if you vote against the incumbent, you're going to be retaliated in some way or another.
Right.
And so everybody votes in favor and nothing changes. And even in the very, very rare cases in which a director does not get a majority, he's co-opted on the board anyway. So
Yes.
it really kind of doesn't make a difference. And so in this world, you're not very surprised that the way compensation are decided is not really kind of very efficient and is not really very fair.
Right. So is there a way to bring that into the free market and make it fair, or in some cases are we just kind of screwed?
I think we should really improve what I call broadly corporate governance. We should give more votes to number one, the investors in general, but also, as you probably know, these days most of the investors invest in a mutual fund, and that mutual fund eventually votes in the shareholders meetings of the companies they own. So I suspect you have a 401k, and your 401k is invested in some S&P 500 index. So you own 500 companies, but you don't vote in 500 companies. Your Vanguard fund or your BlackRock fund will vote in those companies. So I think that what we need to do is make it easier for people to vote and for those votes to matter, so that there is a more direct feedback between the investors, who often are customers, and the companies that operate.
I want to go back to, I want to dig a little deeper into the regulatory capture industry, or the regulatory capture process, because again, back in 2012, you mentioned a few industries that are probably going to be disrupted and are going to fight like hell to keep their positions. I think you call out physicians, healthcare, accountants, and lawyers. And a creepy thing happened to me a couple of weeks ago where I just took an AI tool, ChatGPT. Someone sent me a contract, and I fed it through just to see what it would do. Then I sent it to my attorney to see what he would do. And they both had the same advice. And so now, granted, I still don't, ChatGPT, as we've talked about on this show before, has hallucinations. I'm not going to trust it yet. It was a little experiment. Maybe it got it right 1 out of 10 times. I imagine that gets worse. I imagine, or not worse, but more refined. And I have had friends asking ChatGPT health-related questions and asking it, you're a world-class physician and health expert. I have these symptoms. What is it? And it comes back with extremely accurate answers. Are we going to see these industries fighting like hell, lawyers, accountants, and healthcare experts fighting like hell? What does that look like, and how do we defend against it?
Actually, the one who have been fighting like hell the most are house brokers.
House brokers?
Yes, because they used to have kind of a very neat monopoly at the local level, thanks to the multiple listing service.
MLS,
and they were enforcing a level of fees that is disproportionate to what we observe in any other country. And it says the 6% fee to sell a house has no comparison. You go to Canada, you go to England, you go to any civilized place, it's a fraction of that. Okay? And it's not like American houses are particularly difficult to sell. So I think that is really used to be a monopoly. Now here we had a couple of court decisions that are really breaking up there. So things are changing. But in the process, when they were challenged, for example, by online services, etc., they started to put restriction at the local level to protect the brokers. Like, for example, another category that is very protected at the local level are car dealers.
I want to go back, though. Do we look at lawyers, accountants, and healthcare, like physicians? Do those industries fight?
The legal industry will fight to hell because they are the master at fighting this. By
it's like lawyers alone. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, and all the licensing. This is I have a co-author whose husband is an engineer, and she's moving to California. And the husband, who has practiced in Illinois for decades, cannot practice in California because engineer, you have so that stuff is crazy. So I would expect even more of that taking place. But to be fair, there is a moment that I did not anticipate in the book, at least to that extent, but it is coming, where AI will wipe out a lot of the value of education of a lot of people. And that would be a pretty painful process. So I think that on the one hand, I think entrenching the car dealers or the brokers, etc., is not a great idea. On the other hand, watch what you wish for, because I think that with AI, we're going to see a lot of disruption.
Well, and this is also another thing you wrote about, which is 20th century was characterized by ideology, and the 21st century will be characterized by data analysis. But my fear in that, which I agree with you, but my fear is that how good is that data analysis going to be when people are fighting to control that data analysis, right? Because we've already seen all the people working on AI and next gen technology brought over into Washington. We already see this tension happening. And so, what kind of data are we going to have?
It's not only that, even in my industry, in academia,
Right.
Access to data, to proprietary data, is an enormous comparative advantage. And companies are smart, and they granted access to data under some conditions that sometimes are explicit, sometimes are implicit. And the implicit condition is you don't write anything against me. Which,
yes.
But if you have that implicit condition, that's not research.
Right.
That's PR.
Yeah.
With all respect for PR, but it's a different job.
Yeah, and you mentioned that as well, which I think there was a case where there was a study that came out, and all of a sudden, part of that study or these resources started disappearing. It's colleagues of yours. You don't say who they were. You protected them, but then you mentioned, and all of a sudden, lawsuit. Yeah. People were after them.
Yeah,
and that's I see maybe that's scaling up.
It is scaling up, absolutely, and it is becoming dangerous for academics and journalists actually to write against some entrenched powers, because they're very fast to sue. And if you are a large company, paying a lawyer to sue you is not a big deal, but for you can ruin your life, even if eventually you're vindicated. But eventually means thousands of dollars of lawyers after, and even if in the best case scenario they pay for your lawyer's fee, for years you are uncertain about whether you're on the hook or not. And that really disrupts your life.
But you talk about school choice, and you talk about the voucher thing, and you talk about how education is a complete disaster. And a lot of CEOs, a lot of leaders of organizations, it's becoming much, much harder for them to find great talent. And I'm curious, are these things linked? And now at this point, I could be wrong on this, but I think about 25 states, almost half the country, has enacted some form of voucher school choice system. Is this a good thing? Is this going to improve education outcomes in this country? Are we going to have better talent? Or is this going to be a completely unmitigated disaster?
So I think that one fundamental problem in the United States is the funding of education is at the city level. And so that leads to strong incentive to segregate. So in Glencoe, there are the best schools in the world, but if you are in Chicago, because a big city, the schools are not necessarily very good. And maybe there are a couple of magnet schools, but surprise, surprise, only the more connected, the one who know how to play the system, go to the magnet school. The average guy in Chicago does not get a good education, okay? So that to me is the problem number one. I think that the voucher system has a lot of potential to improve this. However, the thing that I say in the book, which differentiates from the standard Milton Friedman voucher system, is that I recognize the fact that if you are a kid born in a family with no education, or where the parents are absent or don't pay attention to you, etc., you don't do very well in the voucher system. The voucher system is really beneficial to middle-class families with a huge emphasis on education, because they can use their voucher and shop for the best opportunities. So what I suggest in the book is that the value of the voucher should be differentiated. And if you are a kid of a professor like me, you should receive a voucher that is less valuable than if you are a kid of somebody who never went to college and has struggled and maybe is without father, without mother, or something like this. Why? Because then schools will be attracted to get those people in, and educate them. So I think that would be an important element to mitigate one of the negative effects of vouchers.
Yeah, and I appreciate you going into that in detail. This show is definitely not about finding agreement, because I know that this is one of those issues right now that's a hot button. We've touched many hot buttons. This show is to give everyone information and data so they can make their own decisions on what tomorrow's workforce looks like and how to lead their culture tomorrow. Luigi Zingales, the professor of entrepreneurship and finance at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business and host of the Capital Isn't podcast, which everyone should absolutely go subscribe to. Thank you so much for coming on Tomorrowist.
My pleasure.
Before we say goodbye, I encourage you to subscribe to Tomorrowist wherever you get your podcasts. You can find all our episodes at shrm.org/Tomorrowist, and while you're there, sign up for our weekly newsletter. Thanks for listening, and remember, the workplace is changing rapidly. You don't have time to be a futurist. Be a Tomorrowist.